Christmas tree. The week before Thanksgiving is the busiest, most challenging time for the Christmas tree industry. One company can ship about 45,000 trees every day. That's around 750,000 to 800,000 Christmas trees per year. The process of growing Christmas trees is not complicated, but it takes a long time. It takes 10 to 12 years to grow one tree. The plants spend the first 4 years in special seed beds, where a sprout emerges from a seed. After that, the trees are grown in fields for about 8 more years. To meet the annual demand for Christmas trees, about 7 million trees are grown in the fields of this company at the same time. Remarkably, a small forest of red pine trees, rather than a building, is used for storage. The red pines protect the Christmas trees from the sun and wind, while naturally keeping them at an optimal cool temperature. Before being shipped to the market, each tree is evaluated by an expert and labeled. Trees that are not in very good condition are sent to a special workshop where the branches are used to make wreaths and other Christmas decorations. Chocolate Santa Claus. Manufacturing complex chocolate figures is not very different from making ordinary chocolate products. The main difference is the use of polycarbonate molds. They move on a conveyor belt while the extruders fill them with melted chocolate mass. To make the figure more beautiful, the process is divided into several stages. Milk and white chocolate are first poured only in certain parts of the mold. Between stages, a worker distributes the mass in the mold using a brush. When the small parts have hardened, it's time to fill the mold with the main chocolate mass. After that, the worker covers the mold with the other half and sends the product to a centrifuge. This equipment is used specifically for filling hollow molds. Because of the constant rotation, the chocolate evenly covers the walls while hardening, forming a rigid frame. Then all that's left is to take the finished product out of the mold and pack it up. Christmas ornaments. Plastic unbreakable ornaments for Christmas trees may look different, but the production process always starts in a similar way. Melted plastic is blown into special molds. The material is soft and pliable, so it fills the mold and hardens in it. Metal fasteners are then attached to the balls by hand using special machines. After that, the ornaments are covered with a protective layer of varnish. All further steps depend on the appearance of the finished product. For example, the balls can be immersed in a bath with glue and glitter. If needed, they are painted automatically using special inkjet machines, and ornaments with complex patterns are processed by hand. Christmas lights. At this Chinese factory, the creation of Christmas lights is essentially a manual process. It starts in the shop where automated welding machines connect plastic cords in tiny colored bulbs. In a shift, 8 of these machines can produce about 50,000 pieces. From here, they go to the assembly shop, where workers weld the individual pieces into a solid long string. When the work is complete, a series of tests are mandatory to make sure that all the wires are connected correctly. Lights designed for outdoor use are also tested for water resistance. Christmas light figures are also made at this factory. For this purpose, metal fittings are used, which are processed by a bending machine, and then welded to obtain the frame of the desired shape. Then the workers glue the ready-made string lights on top. Champagne. Champagne is a sparkling wine, so the production process starts with the extraction of juice from the grapes. The fresh fruit is poured into a press and crushed. The resulting mash is subjected to vinification. This can be carried out differently, but generally it's the mush that undergoes the fermentation process. The glucose is broken down into ethyl, alcohol, and other byproducts, which create the taste in the bouquet of the wine. When fermentation has taken place, the winemaker performs the assemblage, i.e., he tastes different wines and mixes them in proportions, so as to produce a harmonious taste specific for a particular brand. The second stage of fermentation takes place in the bottle. A special mixture of sugar and yeast is added to the wine. When the bottle is corked, the wine begins to ferment. The carbon dioxide can't escape because of the cork, and so it dissolves in the drink, finally turning ordinary wine into sparkling wine or champagne. The final process is known as remuage or riddling. The bottles are rotated around their axis and lowered with the neck down. This is done so that the sediment that has formed collects in one place near the neck so that it can be easily removed. Candy canes. In this case, it all starts with the preparation of the mixture. Sugar and water are added to the invert syrup, stirred thoroughly, and then brought to a boil. The resulting mass is poured onto a tray and distributed until an even layer is obtained. It's given time to cool so that it acquires viscosity, and then it's rolled up and placed in a machine. Flavorings and colorings are added at this stage, as the machine is responsible for stirring the mass evenly. In the case of candy canes, the further production process can be summed up in a few simple steps. The specialist twists mixtures of several colors to make a huge brick. A little later, it's stretched to the right thickness. The strip is divided into portions, and before the candy has had time to harden, the workers give it the shape of a cane. Animatronic figures. These are moving figures, in this case inspired by Christmas. The ideas are developed by artists who sketch out the outlines of the future animatronics on paper. Then, based on the sketches, the graphic designers create a complete visual project. After that, the assembly process begins. The frame of the figures is made of metal. The workers add the mechanisms that give the toys the ability to move. The outer shell consists of two parts. The first one is the body itself. The details are molded from plastic and then painted. The second part is the clothing, which is sewn from the most common fabric by hand. When all the parts are put together, you get an animatronic figure. Gingerbread. Using highly professional equipment, making gingerbread on an industrial scale is a fully automated process. The dough is kneaded from water, flour, oil, eggs, and a large variety of spices. A modern mixer can make up to 3 tons of dough every hour. The dough is divided into portions and extruded with an extruder to create a variety of shapes, even complex ones. The dough pieces travel on a conveyor belt to the baking department, and once the cookies have cooled, they're ready for further processing, whether filling or glazing. The production line that you see on the screen produces 60 to 70 tons of cookies per day. Nutcrackers. The factory that you see working on the screen has been making nutcrackers since 1928. These are collectible toys worth a few $100s, so no one actually uses them to crack nuts. Natural linden wood is used as the main material. The timbers are sawn into logs and then processed on all sides to get first an octagonal section and then a round section. Each log is divided into sections, and the parts of the nutcracker bodies are then made from them. Holes are made in the wood to connect it later to other parts. Also, each piece is painted a darker color and coated with a layer of protective varnish. The heads are made in a similar way, but the painting process here is different, more complex, and therefore performed by hand. The final assembly is also done manually. The worker joins the parts together step by step and glues on the hair, buttons, and other small details. Fireworks. Cardboard or plastic are used to make the bodies of fireworks, as these materials don't produce dangerous splinters when they explode. Workers assemble the frame from a variety of tubes, which can have almost any shape. The most common are cylindrical and spherical casings. At the next stage, the lower compartments are filled with gunpowder, and the upper ones with a special mixture of chemicals. Its composition is what determines the color palette and appearance of the fireworks. As a rule, charcoal or dextrin is used. Metal salts such as copper, sodium, iron, or magnesium salts are used as dyes. Oxidizing agents support the combustion process. When each compartment is filled, all that remains is to put a fuse in the construction and make the packing. Sparklers, on the other hand, are much easier to make. A piece of iron wire is bent to obtain the desired shape. Then the pieces are dipped with one end into the mixture of barium nitrate, aluminium powder, and dextrin. Crushed iron filings are also added to the mixture to make the sparks.